Hey everyone, hey everyone. So a quick little update on my press brake here. I know I mentioned in the past two videos I've made with this thing that I wanted to build flange stiffeners for it, and I finally did. And I came up with kind of a cool way that I think is unique. I bent these, diagonal pieces, and I got the idea from bridge trusses and also bar joists, the way they bend like that with a round bar, and it turned out really well. So I'll show you how I did it. I cut like an 8 foot long piece of bar, and I just sent it through the press, bent it, flipped it around, bent it, flipped it around, bent it, and so forth. And this piece I did kind of on a whim. I got this idea. I was sitting at my desk one day at work, and it just popped in my head. And it's like, oh, I should do diagonal pieces. And I bent this one, and it fit in there nice and perfect. The other side, I whenever I bent each piece, they were a little tight, and I had to take the grinder and flatten them because the bend was too long. So I was able to massage them, and it's easy. I mean, the the shallower this angle is, they're not as tall. So I could just stretch them out, but then it would be too long, and it would be extending too far out. So I just grabbed a little bit, if that makes sense. But so then I just bent these. I just welded them after I bent them. My welds aren't the greatest. I'm gonna admit that, but some of them turned out nice. This one turned out nice, and I stick welded them because the MIG welder can't reach this far. I would like to get a longer, a longer whip for it, but I just wheeled the stick welder over here, and it's doing great. This is Sears Craftsman. I don't know, I'm guessing it's from the 80s, but alright, so just to explain a little bit of background of why I decided to build my flange stiffeners for the press out of that. It's this material I used it's 3/8 thick by 2-inch flat bar. It's really good stuff. Every time I go into the steel yard, I buy like 3 pieces of it. They come in 20-foot pieces. And I cut it in half usually and put it on my rack. It's just easier to get the full length rather than having them cut and wait, for the order to be processed. But other stuff I really like using is 1.5 by 3/16. I think I have some pieces of 3-inch by 1/4 inch that I really like, flat bar. I really like 2-inch square tube, but unfortunately that's gotten really expensive. Those are just materials that I found over the years I like having on hand. When someone asks me to build something or repair something, those are like my go-to things I like having around. So that's just one of those things, because I can't just go to the steel yard every day or get big bundles of various materials. So I found over the years there's different sizes of things I like using, and I keep a couple pieces on hand all the time. So some people might like using pipe. I like building stuff out of flat bar and angle iron, and just press breaking it as we're talking about. But then there's other things like down here I have a lot of big pieces of tubing that I keep my eyes open on Facebook Marketplace, and when I see stuff going for cheap that people are scrapping, I buy as much of it as I can possibly bring home. So, and then that ends up being what I find for a good deal is what I end up building with. So anyways, that's kind of just my rambling for the night in my ongoing saga with building this press. But I hope that makes sense what I was talking about with my material stock. I've just found over the years of doing side work for people and this type of work for myself that there's different size materials that I like having. I go and buy them, and then I don't have all these different random sizes. Every time I get metal like 3 or 4 times a year, and I just say I go buy the exact same thing every single time. A couple pieces of this, a couple pieces of that, and it keeps it easy. I learn to use those materials. I get good at using them, and they're cheap. I found the materials that are affordable to use, and I like using them. And I'm not always hunting after these different random obscure stuff. So you can assume here that I have predictable. All right, well, so I guess that's it for the press for now. I think it's pretty darn strong now.